Salutations, friends. Welcome back to my channel. Today is a discussion. I'm saying that first about the House of Roja. I'm going to share my current, as of filming this video, collection of Roja fragrances. I'm going to talk about them, kind of tell you the reasons why I like these fragrances, the reasons why I collect the house. This house is probably the most recognizable of the luxury niche houses, especially when it comes down to price points. And I could be incorrect, but I believe they currently have the most expensive bottle of perfume that is not one of the, this is covered in diamonds or a limited edition gold bottle. You know, when you see the top 10 most expensive bottles of perfume, normally those bottles are adorned in diamonds and they're like something limited edition or something special occasion. No, like this is like a regular run. You can buy it off a variety of different websites, $3,500 bottle of perfume. So the House of Roja Parfums is drenched, completely saturated in polarizing controversy and thoughts because of its high price point. And I've reviewed the house, I've ranked the house before. I think I ranked the house. I shared at least my favorites from the collection, and my collection has grown since those videos. So what I wanted to do was sit down and discuss the House of Roja. So that's what this video is going to be. It's going to be chit chat. So let's go. These videos tend to bring in a few more viewers that might not be familiar with me. So I'm going to do my stupid little introduction. My name is Kristin. I am a fragrance content creator. This is a hobby. Obviously, this is not my job. This is a hobby. I am a fragrance collector and a consumer. I do not have any formal training. I do not have any formal education. The most education I've ever gotten in regards to being taught to sell fragrances was my first job when I was 16. I worked at Douglas Cosmetics, and more currently I was a manager at Ulta a few years ago. I'm currently 38, to give you an idea of the amount of time that's passed between formal education. I'm saying that not to talk down about myself, and also not to talk down about other content creators who do have the education or who have worked in the industry, so have the experience. Some people prefer and demand that experience and education, and when it comes down to talking about formulas, talking about industry standards and things like that, working and understanding to an intimate degree, having that intimate knowledge and education is very important. But some people prefer the consumer review and opinions, and if that is what you enjoy, then hello. The other thing I always mention, and it's going to be very apparent in this video, is I do not look at the camera, and I get this on all the time on my videos. I film on an iPad. So what that means is I have to film and I have to look at the big viewfinder, so I film it in like selfie mode, because I deal with chronic migraines as part of some of my chronic illnesses. And if I were to focus where I would need to, which is like right there, to basically connect with you guys looking at the camera, I will get a migraine that will last me 2 weeks and I will be in tears. So for me to be able to sit down and create content for you guys without causing an extreme amount of discomfort and pain, I do have to look off camera. And this is something that gets brought up all the friggin' time. All the time in my videos, and I wanted to address it. The reason why I wanted to address both of those things is because whenever I talk about controversial houses, expensive fragrances, especially when I talk about how I spend my money and what I like, I want you guys to know first and foremost that I'm coming to you as a place from somebody who is a collector and a consumer and spending my own money, but also people like to say, why aren't you looking at the camera? So I figured I'd mention that here. I think the other most important thing to mention is all of these fragrances but one I purchased, and the one that wasn't purchased was given to me by a friend as a partial bottle. Now, Roja is a house that has been very generous and abundant with gifting some of their most expensive bottles to fragrance influencers in exchange for reviews and content. And I am not against that. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. And I've talked about that in a variety of different videos, as long as everyone discloses that this was sent to me for free to review and that their opinions are honest. Or if they're a paid commercial, like I was paid to say these words about said thing, that they're just upfront about it. That's all that is legally required, and that's all I would hope a brand would just require, is honesty and enthusiastic content. But because these fragrances are so incredibly expensive, there is a lot of controversy that goes around the price point. So I wanted to talk to you guys about these fragrances and also share with you why I choose to purchase and support the House of Roja. Now, Roja has never reached out to me and offered me anything in exchange for a review, and that is perfectly okay. I prefer to purchase fragrances to review. I have and still currently do exchanges for reviews for bottles. That is something that I've done and I continue to do. In fact, I have some PR being sent to me currently, but as long as brands are honest and upfront and allow me to be honest, then I'm always open to share and experience new things. However, there are certain houses, because of the price point and because of the controversy, I would prefer to purchase from. So if Roja reached out to me and offered me anything, I would say yes, because obviously these are very expensive and I do genuinely love the house. But I am more than capable of purchasing my own bottles. So the other thing I wanted to say too is, as I discuss these fragrances with you guys, I am discussing it as someone who has spent their own money on these. And for some people, that's very important. Again, especially with an extremely expensive house. Now, I'm talking way too long before even talking about this house, but as I get into price points and the justification for why I think these price points can be commanded for some, not all, but some of these fragrances, I thought it was incredibly necessary to say all this stuff first. So if you've stuck around so far, thank you. But we're going to get into the actual discussion of this house and my current collection. Instead of just listing every single fragrance I have, hey, here's this one, obviously they're all going to be listed below. And if I have any reviews of anything or any notable videos talking about these houses, this house or these fragrances, those will all be linked below. I think the most important thing that I have to say in regards to the price point of these fragrances is, what would you justify the amount of money to be spent? And I've talked about in other videos what is an expensive fragrance and what is an inaccessibly priced fragrance. And for one person, expensive could be $100, and for another person, it could be $1,000. So I've really talked about that. I'm not going to get into it. But let's just assume, because I think it's easily safe to say, that a house where the cheapest bottles are about $300 and the most expensive is $3,500, that these are incredibly excessively priced fragrances. Now, there's a variety of different reasons why houses can justify and command and demand these, and some people agree and some people disagree. But when you yourself decide to purchase a bottle of perfume, what do you, if you have the money or if you save the money, what would be your requirements of a perfume, a house to command? Let's say the baseline $300 to $500 for a 50 ml bottle of perfume, 1.7 ounces. For some people, that is ingenuity. For some people, that is the level of experience from purchasing to presentation to performance. For some people, it's name brand recognition. Some people are willing to pay the exorbitantly high name brand luxury tax, and that's fine as long as you know what you are paying for and you know that it is priced for these reasons. I think a great example would be expensive t-shirts, like a white t-shirt. You can go to Target, you can go to Macy's, you can go to Dillard's and buy a white t-shirt for maybe like $20 to like $75. And for some people that could be affordable, and for some people that could be expensive. Or you could go to Neiman Marcus, or you can go to Bloomingdale's, or you can go to some other high-end store and buy a white t-shirt from a super high-end name brand designer, and that shirt could be $400 to $1,000. It's a white t-shirt. but some people are willing to pay that luxury name brand prestige tax. But when it comes down to fragrance, a lot of it comes down to performance, comes down to formula, comes down to smelling expensive, and I've talked about what that means, and also comes down to why and how can a house justifiably command an expensive amount of money for overpriced and overtly scented water. And the House of Raja, in my opinion, that I justify the price point and I'm totally okay with in most cases spending the money on, does not have to do with creative ingenuity, but has to do with the level of experience, specifically how they perform on my skin. So let's use an apple, for example. You have two apples. You have one apple that looks pretty good and then one apple that looks like the most delicious apple in the entire world. One apple might be like 50 cents for an apple. The other apple might be like $3.50 for an apple. Let's look at a $50 bottle of perfume and a $350 bottle of perfume. Both are going to taste like an apple. You're going to eat an apple and you're going to like an apple, and hopefully you're going to get all the nutrients of the apple. But that $3.50 apple, I would hope for the additional price, it would be crisper. It would have, maybe it would be organic. Maybe you're supporting like a local farmer, you're going to a farmer's market. Maybe when you bite into it, it's juicier and it has more flavor to it, and the meat of it has that texture that you like. Some people prefer firmer, some people prefer softer. Whatever you would want out of an apple, that $3.50 apple is going to give you the best flavor and experience of an apple you've ever had in your life. That does not mean that this 50-cent apple is bad, and that does not mean that you aren't going to enjoy the heck out of that apple, especially if you're hungry and really craving an apple. But this $3.50 apple is a treat, and you are all about it because it's giving you everything. That's kind of like, for me, what I expect from the House of Raja. There are compositions, there are formulas, there are notes in this that are very reminiscent, similar, almost identical to obviously other fragrances that are much, 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 much cheaper. But what I expect and demand is an elevation, not of the presentation, not even of the performance when it comes down to longevity or projection or sillage. It has to do with how it smells. It has to do with an articulation of formula. Now, like I said before in the beginning of this video, this is a chatty video. And if you wanted me to sit here again and list the fragrances of the House of Raja and talk about notes, that is not what this video is. This is a conversation about expensive fragrances, specifically the house. So you're going to get a lot of chatting and talking in this video. When I talk about an articulation of formula, we're going to go back to another food metaphor. Hi, I'm a former culinary student. Let's use, like making broths. You have all the ingredients to make a broth, and you have all the same components, same, everything, all the same vegetables. Let's say you're making a chicken broth and you have the availability of like chickens and, different, meats and bones and different parts of the body that you can use. If you choose to make a quick broth and you want it to be light and fresh and not too heavy, obviously your mirepoix, you're not going to caramelize your mirepoix. You might put everything in raw and uncooked. So you might use specific aromatics and you might use specific parts of the chicken because you're doing a quick broth and you want it to be kind of very light and fresh and delicate, but still very complex. And so there's special ways that you would create and blend and layer your broth so it doesn't taste watery, but it tastes delicate. And then you might want a more denser or richer, thicker broth, like a sipping broth or something like that. There's going to be different ways that you prepare your mirepoix. And by different ways that you chop, different parts of the animal that you use, and a longer time in preparing your broth. Maybe you are simmering that thing. I've simmered broths for over 72 hours. So there's different ways that you can create or articulate a broth. A lazy broth would just be throwing everything in, not cutting everything easily, throwing in water, boiling it for an hour or two, scooping everything out, not scooping out any of the foam or trying to really layer or blend anything. That would be a lazy, watery broth rather than somebody who's spending the same amount of time, but maybe cutting everything evenly, using the right aromatics, maybe specific parts of the chicken to create the broth. There are ways with using the same ingredients that you can articulate a delicious, delicate broth. And when we're looking at formulas, you know, like maybe you're looking at a composition like a chypre or something, maybe a fresh, woody aromatic fragrance for the summertime. There are ways that a lot of popular fragrances that have been around forever or her more current trending fragrances smell. You close your eyes, that's sandalwood, there's some vanilla, there's patchouli in there, there's some bergamot in the opening, heliotrope, iris, violet, and jasmine, but you're really getting sandalwood, and there's also some cedarwood, maybe some gaiac wood in there for smokiness, who knows. But you close your eyes and what you smell is a woody aromatic fragrance, and those smell great. Now, if you close your eyes and you smell 5 different fragrances together and they all smell kind of similar, again, we're going back to this apple metaphor, why would you pay $3.50 when you could pay 50 cents and get the same thing? Well, of all those, which one smells nicer? Which one smells smoother? Which one smells more well blended and well crafted? It doesn't just have to do with the quality ingredients of, you know, the formula. Like, this house uses the best ingredients. Well, that's fantastic, but if the nose doesn't know what to do with them, that doesn't matter. But if a nose has the ability to create beautiful formulas, you can give them cheaper ingredients and cheaper components to a fragrance and they can create magic. So it's not just the level of quality in the ingredients to create the liquid inside these beautiful bottles, it's the ability for the perfumer and the nose to articulate and create magic with those ingredients. And that's what I want to smell. Somebody who understands the composition, somebody who understands what they're creating. If I go and spend, you know, like say I go to a sushi restaurant for a very well-known sushi chef and I'm going to spend, you know, like $75 for a curated meal, I'm going there for sushi. I'm not going there for a hamburger because that person understands that, and I'm paying for that experience. And that's kind of like what I mean with this, is that with the House of Roja, he really understands specific compositions very, very well, has spent a lot of time working and just kind of developing first what his point of view is, his cohesive point of view in fragrance is, which is very opulent, very glamorous, very mature. And there are a few fragrances that kind of stick out differently, and we'll talk about those. But generally, understanding the type of fragrances that they are very good at creating, and also understanding that there are ways to expand upon these same formulas in new and unique and different ways that make that special, but also make it different. But you're not recreating the wheel. So you might get a gorgeous, glamorous, pouty, old world, timeless fragrance that's sandalwood, iris, some vanilla, violet, and rose, and bergamot, and aldehydes, but you might, in each case, tweak the balance differently to make this one fresher, this one more modern, this one more heady and lush and creamy. Maybe you add cocoa to this one, maybe you add mandarin to this one. Maybe you have a more distinctive carrot note in this iris one to bring out the specific soft, powdery, more fruity nuances in this one. And that's kind of like what I'm talking about, articulation and kind of a point of view with somebody who kind of understands where they shine and how they want to create new fragrances in the world. And some people think that that is to be celebrated and is worth the money. And some people don't, and that's okay, because you ultimately at the end of the day are the only person that matters when it comes down to spending your own money. And I also think when it comes down to consumerism and capitalism, you have the right to voice your opinion as well. Hi, that's why I have a channel. That's why I started this channel, is to connect and talk with people about something that I love. And that is also why my comments are open and I don't delete comments, because people have conflicting, completely different opinions than I do, and those are accurate and completely okay. Which is why when people come to some of my channels or some of my videos where I talk about these fragrances, I get a lot of people ripping this house apart, and that is totally okay, because we're not talking about a $50 perfume. We're not talking about a $100 bottle of perfume. We're talking about a over $1,000 bottle of perfume. So there's going to be very real thoughts and opinions on why and how a house can justify such expensive fragrances. And just because I say the fact that I think that these are elevated and quality fragrances and they smell better on my skin, and I think that they're worth over $1,000, you might not agree with, and you might also be very protective of the market, of the industry, of the community that you want to speak out against that, and that's completely okay. So we are going to talk about these fragrances. I will share them all. I'll share all the ones that I have real quickly. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull a few out and talk specifically about them and kind of showcase what makes me think that these are like shining jewels within the house of Roja. The first three are like my holy grails from the house. Let me grab one more. These four are the holy grails of the house. One of these is discontinued, sadly. But these are the fragrances that I think are just absolutely fantastic and I love, and they're also the ones closest to me in this video. I am looking at so much stuff right now on my floor. It's ridiculous. That's a whole other video though. So this is the Kingdom of Bahrain. This is discontinued. This is one of my favorite fragrances ever. And this is a blind buy. Full retail price, $550. Again, if you want to know thoughts, reviews, discussions on these fragrances, links below. Gorgeous fragrance. This bottle would be almost empty if this was not a discontinued fragrance. Whenever there's a discontinued fragrance that I love, I like never wear it because I don't want to be without it. I want to know that it's there. It's sitting there like protected, but I do love that fragrance a lot. Now the newest fragrances to my collection from the House of Roja are Britannia and Nua. And these both, I would say, are my most expensive bottles from the house. These are $1,050 a piece. Even if you find these gray market, and I think I got one, I think I got Britannia gray market, you are still looking at spending $600 to $800 full retail for these bottles. So it's still, even discount is very, very, very expensive. So these are holy grails of mine just because they smell amazing and they perform beautifully on my skin. This one is definitely doesn't fit with the cohesiveness of the rest of Roja's house, but it's absolutely beautiful, and I just recently reviewed it, so again, I'll link it below. But these are holy grails from the house that I've been meaning to add to my collection for literal years, and I finally did. And in my opinion, this fragrance is the best example of what Roja, this house, represents in regards to opulence and luxury and beauty and wearability. This fragrance is just stunning. And if you collect fragrances, there's a difference between having a fragrance collection, loving and appreciating fragrance, but when you start to collect, like you have rules, and I'll talk about my rules a little bit later for this house, but when you start to collect, if you collect luxury niche, you don't need this, although I think everyone needs this in their collection. But when you collect the House of Roja, if you collect Roja, this is a must-have in your collection, I think, and it's Amber Oud. And I don't wear this one nearly as much as I should, but I do absolutely love this fragrance. And when I do wear this fragrance, it's like a 1 or 2 spritzer. But absolutely gorgeous fragrance, and I will get into this one in depth. There's like 2 or 3 of these I'm really gonna sink my teeth into. This is gonna be a long video, obviously. Now, those are, I would say, my most special, but that doesn't mean that they are the best for everybody. I think if you wanted to grab a fragrance and close your eyes and smell, what would be for the women's side or the more feminine leaning side of fragrances, what would be the best example of Roja's style of perfumery? I actually think is a 51 Parfum. I think this kind of is a great example of what they do or what he does when it comes down to timeless, classic, glamorous, wearable fragrances, leaning more shared more feminine leaning scents. When I talk about feminine and masculine, I'm talking about what side of the fragrance aisle would this composition generally be marketed on. It doesn't mean that only women can wear it. You can wear whatever you want. Now, I did track down a 100 ml bottle of this, and I did get a good deal on this, but absolutely beautiful fragrance, and it's really quite lovely. Now, I do have some just everyday bangers, my dome grabs from the House of Roja. These are some of my older bottles, and I'm just kind of wiping them off because these pretty little golden labels show fingerprints very well. So we have Lily and we have Gardenia. I do like these. These are the Roja Parfums. I think that these are great wearable scents. Great for bedtime, great for going to the grocery store. I think these are over $300. I feel horrible saying wear these to bed, wear these to the grocery store, wear these to pump gas. I don't pump gas anymore. I just plug my car in. But like when you have to run those mundane errands and you want to wear something glamorous and pretty and beautiful and floral, these have been great. And again, 1 spritzers. These are the ones that I love a lot. And these are the ones that I do reach for. This is actually my scent of the day. It's Ti Amo from Roja. I'm actually kind of kicking myself that I didn't buy the beautiful like 3-piece scent in the red lacquer box, but that's another story. Beautiful fragrance, romantic, sexy, gorgeous. Just, this is special. This is a special, special fragrance, but it doesn't hit the same way like Amber Oud does, but still really beautiful, really opulent, absolutely stunning. Now, this is the one that was given to me as a partial from a friend, and my friend and I, we would just give each other things or decants and stuff like that, and this was given to me. I forget how much was in here. It wasn't obviously completely full. It was closer to empty than it was to full, but I've worn this a lot, and when this runs out, I will be purchasing a bottle of this, but this was given to me as a partial, so just letting you guys know, I haven't worn this much, but I do love Danger. And then I have these two. These two were the first 2 bottles of Roja that I think I purchased. I know this one was most definitely the first bottle of Roja I purchased. It's Enslaved Parfum. And I do wear this one a lot. It's really beautiful. This is more mature dated timeless classic. I really love it. And Beguiled. I believe this one is also discontinued and hard to find, but still equally very beautiful. Now, I do have more fragrances from the house that I want to buy, specifically Haute Luxe, which is the $3,500 bottle of perfume. I have smelled it multiple times. I have smelled it on my skin, and it is something that I want. I keep talking myself out of buying because I think that's the responsible thing to do, but it is absolutely gorgeous. But their more expensive fragrances on my must-buy list is definitely Chypre Extraordinaire, Goodnight's Kiss, Great Britain, and Haute Luxe. Those are ones that I want to add to my collection, but I consider my Roja collection dang near complete based off of price point and me being a responsible adult. And I know that's saying something standing in front of over 1,000 bottles of perfume, but I do have rules. So I'm going to talk about my rules after I talk about like 1 or 2 bottles. So the reason why I think that Amber Oud is the best version of Roja and a must-have has to do with, in my opinion, when I was talking earlier about like that beautiful, delicious apple. I was going to say owl. That beautiful, delicious apple, but also articulating properly a formula and doing it in a way that's successful and beautiful and luxurious, and you can smell the quality. I have talked about that before. I'm not going to get into it in this video. This is like the only one that comes to mind, to be perfectly honest. Like really, that's even including Haute Luxe, Chypre Extraordinaire, all those other ones I've smelled on my skin that I don't own. The reason being is that this has it all. This has a beautiful luxury experience to it in regards to it smells opulent, it smells rich, it smells decadent, it smells sexy. It's a shared fragrance. It has some very expensive gradients in here. But what it also has is a versatility and its ability to be worn anywhere, anytime, any day. And when you are going to be investing $750 for a bottle of perfume, you better demand something about it that is extra special. And in my opinion, when we're talking about expensive fragrances, having something luxurious and special, being able to be so adaptable is awesome. I know it's awesome. I know a lot of you guys really hate my my lingo. I'm very sorry. What that means is, or like what I mean by that is that you are going to be able to wear this anywhere, and that makes this an investment. I mean, obviously, no fragrance is an investment. You're not going to get a return on investment. Very rarely will you do. I think I own like 2 or 3 bottles of perfume that were a true investment, but that's a completely different conversation. This, however, is not. This is a money sink, a money hole. You're throwing your money away. But if it's a hobby and it's something that you love and enjoy, what I'm talking about an investment is an investment in your happiness, your wardrobe, your je ne sais quoi, whatever. I don't know. I'm really bad at words. An investment in that this fragrance you can wear anywhere, anytime. It can be worn casually. It can be worn formally. It has that beautiful, sensual opulence that works well in formal occasions and also in colder climates. But it's not heavy, headache-inducing, and stuffy to the point where it can't be worn in hotter, more humid climates. In fact, the proportions and the properly articulated between woods and florals and just beautiful, delicious aromatics in here makes this work so well in hot and humid and tropical, swampy climates, but also hot, dry areas, and also colder, cooler, brisker climates. It works so well summer, winter, fall, springtime, daytime, evening, formal, casual. It is like if you were to only buy 1 bottle of perfume and you were willing to spend this amount of money and you liked this style of fragrance, this would be worth the investment, in my opinion. But you have to check off all those boxes. And because it's so beautifully blended and so meticulously crafted, you've smelled this composition before, but done to this high level, I haven't smelled too many times that have come even close. And that's why it's so special. And it is definitely like, if you collect the House of Roja, this is the greatest kind of almost thesis. I think that's the worst word I could use, but we're just going to stick with it. We're going to drive it in. This is why Roja doesn't send me any bottles. Totally fine. Again, I can buy whatever I want. But the purest example of the quality, the ingenuity, and the level of articulation, again, that I was talking about in creating something that is familiar, but elevating it in a way that's very special and can demand a very expensive price point. Again, $750 for 100 ml, which is very pricey. The other fragrance I wanted to talk about is Kingdom of Bahrain. This is, again, probably my favorite fragrance from the house. That's saying something because I said Holy Grails, and this was not quite in with the Holy Grails because it's discontinued, and I hate saying that a fragrance that I can't get anymore is a Holy Grail. It makes me sad, but then again, I look at Sycamore and Gourmand Coquine and Iris Ganesh. I'm gonna make myself sad. Tiempe Passati, gonna make myself real sad if I think about that one. But what I love about this one is that let's just ignore the fact that it was discontinued, which we should not ignore. And if anyone from the House of Roja, bring this one back, please. It's so good. This is a great example of something that if I described it to you, you'd be like, why are they charging $550 for that? But when you smell it, you're like, aha, yes. And that has to do with, this smells like a cookie. It smells like a cookie. Myself so hungry, so hungry. But with this fragrance, what you are getting is that higher level cookie. And so that's kind of like what I'm talking about, like with this cookie smell, is it smells kind of like a lemon cookie, but it's got hints of aromatics in here that kind of mimic spices. And there's something about it that's like you're biting into a crisp, fresh cookie. It's lemony, it's sexy, it's complex, it's beautiful, and it's so perfectly articulated. But if I sit here and told you it smelled like a cookie, you're going to be like, oh, it smells like a cookie. No. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about, it has beautiful, rich, nuanced, gourmand elements to it that mimic a very refined, beautiful, delicious, high-end cookie. And what I love about that is it just smells so sexy on the skin and performs so well. It is so beautiful. And it's just absolutely gorgeous. So anyway, yeah, that is another fragrance that I think really tells a beautiful story on the skin, that if I were to quickly say it smells like a cookie, you'd be like, why am I going to spend over $500 for that? But when you smell it on the skin and you smell the layers of complexity and the literal, like, I feel like the Moby Dick word count volume of notes in there to create that scent. It's so successful and it's so beautiful, and I love it so much. That's why I'm talking about it. Those are two fragrances that I think are great examples from the house that fit into what people expect: a high level of luxury, something wearable, something familiar, but something well blended and elevated. Anyway, to kind of sum up, TLDR, this conversation of this house is expensive. This house is inaccessibly priced. This is very, very expensive. Even their cheaper fragrances are still incredibly expensive. So is this house worth it? Well, obviously I've talked to you guys. I'm looking at my little counter up here at 1 hour and 45 minutes. I'm going to spend a lot of time editing this video. For me, think yes. Not every fragrance, but most of these fragrances I find to be very beautiful. Yes, you are paying a luxury prestige name brand tax on this. I'm not gonna lie. Yes, you are. Of course you are. Anything luxury, you are paying that white t-shirt tax, that $450 tax over that $50 t-shirt tax. You're paying a name brand tax. And for some people, that is ridiculous and stupid and scam and shilly and wrong. And I am not going to tell those people that they are wrong, because again, we are not talking about, a $75 bottle of perfume versus a $50 bottle of perfume. We're talking about a $50 bottle of perfume versus sometimes over $1,000 bottle of perfume. There's going to be real protective, very visceral, almost feral opinions, both protective and not protective of this brand, and protective and not protective of the perfume world to begin with. And that could be not liking overpriced, high-end luxury niche fragrances, corporate niche fragrances. That's fine. Just because I like to purchase them and I enjoy them does not mean that everyone else does. And I do not have the right to tell you to spend this much money on a bottle of perfume. I can only really share my opinions, again, as a consumer. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If it looks like I'm tired, I will literally film this video like 5 times. Hopefully this is the last. If you're seeing this and you're hearing me say this, it's the last time I finally got it up. This again was a very chatty video. It was a very long video, but it was supposed to be. This was supposed to be a discussion, a talk on an expensive house, one of the most expensive houses on the market. And I would love to continue this conversation. So please, in the comment section, I would love to know what your guys' opinion is on this house, positive or negative. Like I said, I purchased these bottles. I am not afraid of never getting a bottle of Roja. That was never going to happen, and definitely won't now. And that's totally okay, because again, I'm privileged and lucky enough to be able to afford these my own. I would much rather and value more than a free bottle of perfume an honest, open, and completely unfiltered discussion on this house, because I think it's important, especially with very expensive luxury purchases. So do not be afraid to disagree with me, but also do not be afraid to agree with me either. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.